Welcome to the New Philadelphia Boys Basketball Locker Room, and that is our focus for TV2 Sports Talk this week, Quaker Boys Hoops. Coming up on this week's show, we'll talk Quaker basketball with six-year head coach Chad Spurgeon, and also break down the 2015-2016 season with Quakers Michael Carl, a junior forward, and senior guard Braden Young. And don't forget, you can get the best television coverage of Quaker basketball all year long here on TV2 as Scott Robinson brings you play-by-play. You can also hear the best coverage of Quaker basketball throughout the campaign on 1450 WJER Radio. Coming up as this week's show rolls on, we'll be joined by Chad Spurgeon here on your home for high school television sports in the Valley, Channel 2 on Time Warner Cable.
I think the hands-on aspect is going to give you an opportunity to explore, find out what you're good at, what you like, and you're not going to have mountains of debt. What you're going to have is a marketable skill that even if you don't love it, you can use that to pay to go on to college and get that degree. And we've got a number of students that do that. They're very mature. I think we're a great hands-on exploration base.
WJER and TV2 would like to introduce you to a new website, WJERTV2.com, where you can watch exciting high school football, soccer, and volleyball replays from TV2 Sports on your home computer, smartphone, or tablet. Also watch the latest episodes of TV2's original programming, Sports Talk, The Garden Girl, The Not So Shy Chef, Off the Record, and Medical Minutes, as well as catch up on local community news and search for local businesses. So make sure to check out the new WJERTV2.com community website where everything's local.
TV2 Sports Talk continuing on DMG Channel 2 from Time Warner Cable. Our focus this week, New Philadelphia boys basketball, as the Quakers approach the midway point of the season. Happy to be joined by New Philadelphia head coach Chad Spurgeon. Coach, although you guys are pushing the halfway point of the year, tell us a little bit about this year's team in terms of guys you had coming back from a year ago and some newcomers who are playing key roles.
Well, we're returning a lot of last year's team, and last year we took some lumps with some young kids and a little skinny at positions. And the nice thing about sophomores is they turn into juniors and they're a little more able to hold their own. Our juniors are headlined probably by Michael Carl, Xander Ricklick, Kobe Hutchinson's giving us nice time, Peyton Spiker's giving us nice time. Peyton Spiker been doing a real nice job. He's giving us great energy. We're looking, Tyler Cox, stress fracture in his foot, missing a lot of time. We're going to actually find a little more out here right now today as far as where he's at. And then, we have three very solid seniors contributing. Micah Carruthers, John Marshall, and Braden Young, who's, seemingly been here forever. He's been giving us a lot of very good minutes. And then we have a couple of young kids in the mix also. Nate Bball is a freshman starting and giving us very solid, sound minutes. Things are going pretty well.
Tell us a little bit about Braden Young and his development, I guess, Coach, where he was. You mentioned seemingly a long time ago as a ninth grader to where he is now leading your team as a senior.
Well, Braden's grown up. It's one of those things where physically, we threw him out there before he was ready perhaps, and, we had to fill a gap, and Braden was skilled enough and bright enough to do that, but he was never strong enough, as a freshman, sophomore, and then he's steadily gotten stronger and stronger, and, he still has that nice skill factor, and he's still a very bright player, but now that his body has come, he's really become a very strong, powerful guard for us. He does a good job of handling the ball, and he really is doing a good job of leading the team this year.
New Philadelphia head coach Chad Spurgeon as the Quakers getting ready to head for the middle part of their season, currently 5-2 on the year overall, as they'll get ready to dive into what is the biggest part of their East Central Ohio League schedule in the coming weeks. Coach, I guess tell us about your strengths as a team. We mentioned that mark of 5-2 as you guys are getting ready for a non-league game as we record this show. What do you like so far from your team?
Well, I think, I think we're strong. I think we're physically strong. I think we're willing to use our bodies. We screen well. We seal well. We create a lot of space with our bodies, which is an important thing. And we're getting stronger with the ball. As we get a better and better handle on the ball, the formal will matter even more, because right now we get good position, sometimes unable to get the ball there because of our habits, our skill, not quite strong enough with the ball. But as that improves, that's going to be a pretty big deal. We have two pretty big kids in there, both have good hands, good feet, and willing to use their bodies to create position. And as we learn to use that better as a team, we'll certainly make that pay some dividends.
Coach, tell us about the development from Game 1, a loss at Canton-McKinley, to a win over Steubenville in the past week or so. One of the things, and of course we're broadcasters, we're not coaches for a reason, but you guys really seem to deal better with the pressure in that game. Not that Steubenville's Canton-McKinley, but they applied pressure. Are you guys happy with where that's going in terms of handling pressure better?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those things where McKinley took us out behind the woodshed, and we really struggled. Schematically, we struggled to want the ball. We struggled with our individual habits. The coaches and the players both struggled in that one, and it's something that kind of a wake-up call. It's it's a hard reckoning, but really forced us to get better at handling the ball, full court situation, our press breaker, playing harder without the ball in press breaker, and understanding where the ball has to go. Kids they've done a 180. I couldn't be more pleased. Steubenville's pressure did not bother us much this year where it did last year. Now, again, that's not, Canton-McKinley's pressure was a little different than Steubenville's, but we'll have an opportunity this coming Saturday with Massillon to see that again, where we're going to see some pressure up into us. And, last year Massillon pressed us out of our gym, in the second half, and created a 20-4 run just on, a pretty simple diamond press where they came and got us. And, we'll be able to gauge ourselves even better with that game.
In the Quaker locker room with New Philadelphia head coach Chad Spurgeon. Coach, while we talk about this being the locker room, to your right is the actual team locker room and lockers. To your left is your coach's office. Now, for those who have never been in here before, and that's the vast majority of people who follow Quaker basketball or certainly watch this show, there's a couch in your office that looks like it's been there since perhaps '78. What's the story behind that couch? Do you need a few bucks from me to get a better looking couch in the office?
Well, I appreciate that, but sometimes things hold iconic status. If you look at our basketball program, yourself, Ed Marsh, and that couch are probably the three things that people think about when they think about Philly basketball. So it's one of those things where, of course, there are nicer couches out there. Of course, we could probably afford one if we needed to, but it's one of those things it's very hard to put it out of its misery.
Now, you're sort of a scientific guy. Most people wouldn't think that of a basketball coach, but coach is smarter than your average basketball coach, not insulting anybody. Coach, if they came in like from CSI and did one of those things where they put the glare and the light on there, I'd hate to see what kind of living creatures may be in that couch. That's what my concern is.
Well, and again, that's one of those things that's out of sight, out of mind as far as the creatures. You talk about microscopic things, and there are a lot of things around us that are probably best not thought of. And, that couch might need fumigated, perhaps.
New Philadelphia head coach Chad Spurgeon coming up as this week's show continues. We'll talk with Quakers, Michael Carl, and Braden Young. It's all when TV2 Sports Talk rolls on DMG Channel 2 from Time Warner Cable.
Well, I woke up to the sound of silence and cars. We're cutting like knives in a fist fight. And I found you with a tear in your eye, your head in the curtains and heart like the 4th of July.
You swore and said, we are not shining stars. This I know. I never said we are.
If you're lost and alone, or you're sinking like a stone, carry on. May your past be the sound of your feet upon the ground. Carry on. Carry on, carry on. We are shining stars. Carry on, carry on. We are who we are.
New Philadelphia Quaker basketball, our focus this week on TV2 Sports Talk from DMG Channel 2 on Time Warner Cable. I'm Bill Morgan, happy to be joined by New Philadelphia senior guard Braden Young. Braden, we were talking with Coach a couple of minutes ago about the fact that you've been playing significant minutes since you were a ninth grader. Now, Coach sort of broke down the difference between Braden as a freshman, Braden as a senior. Let's hear it from Braden. What are the biggest differences in your game from when you were a ninth grader to here you are the senior leader, one of them on this basketball team?
When I was a freshman, it was more of standing in the corner, throw it to Boost and Marco, get them the ball, and shoot if I was open. Now, as a senior, I'm more of an aggressive type of player. I take the ball to the hoop more, I shoot it more, just more of like a leader taking the ball as compared to as a freshman when I just pass the ball more.
I noticed specifically, Braden, in the Dover game, not that you're not a fiery individual by nature, but you're not a guy who normally talks a lot out on the floor, talks a lot out on the field, but you hit some big shots in the game, and you look like you were maybe having some friendly or not so friendly back and forth with the Dover student section. What was going on there?
I'm not going to say anything. I don't know. It's probably just in the heat of the game.
I got you. New Philadelphia's Braden Young as we talk Quaker basketball this week on DMG Channel 2 from Time Warner Cable. Braden, tell us about this year's team in terms of what you like as a senior looking on these guys. A lot of them younger players in terms of what you guys are doing as a team. Maybe some of the things that you guys would like to do better as you push toward the ECOL biggest part of the schedule.
I really like how we're playing well together. We've came a long way since the first game. We've gelled since then. Our offense, we're finally finding ourselves in our offense, and we're being able to score now, which is good. We're playing better defense. We've came together as a team, and I think we look like it now.
Braden, clearly football and basketball, two different games. You had a great year for the Quakers at wide receiver, and of course, when we look back on the team's year, it looks even more impressive when you consider the three teams you guys lost to all played for the state championship. What do you take from a competitive angle in terms of what you do in terms of succeeding in football to succeeding on the basketball floor? Are there similarities, or is it totally different?
Yeah, there are similarities. It's different work for basketball and football, but it's the same work ethic for me. In the summer, all the time, getting in the gym or weight room, just getting my workout in every day.
Take us off the floor with you. You're a senior. You're going to be graduating in the spring. That'll be here before you know it. I guess, what are your plans as you look ahead? Any ideas on if you want to go to college, what you would like to study in college? Look to the future for people who followed your athletic career.
I've looked somewhat into playing in college. I've got some calls for football and as well as basketball, but it's a long way for that. I'm so worried about this season right now. But I'd like to go into sports management when I go into college, and that's all I know about so far.
When you talk about sports management, what would you want to do with something like that? Involved in professional sports, collegiate sports, or is that something maybe that's a little too far off on the radar to focus in on?
A little too far off on the radar, I think, right now.
Braden, certainly we appreciate your time. Best of luck in the second half of the season.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
New Philadelphia senior guard Braden Young as TV2 Sports Talk continues on DMG Channel 2. We'll continue to talk Quaker basketball with junior forward Michael Carl. It's all on the way from Channel 2 on Time Warner Cable.
Hi, I'm Elaine Miller with Naturally Green Cleaning Service. My company serves both commercial and residential clients. We do general cleaning, spring and fall, empty homes to get them move-in ready, and final cleans for new construction. We use eco-friendly cleaning products that leave your home or office fresh, clean, and safe for you, your family, pets, or coworkers. Our focus at Naturally Green is to provide excellent customer service paired with outstanding work to build a relationship of trust with you, our clients. Having served the area 4+ years, we have had many referrals and testimonials that you can access on our website at www.naturallygreencs.com. Our work sells itself, therefore we have never had any contracts even with our largest commercial accounts. Call us today for your free quote and see what makes our company stand out.
Taking the area by storm, Lightning Signs and Decals specializes in custom signs, banners, and graphics. We are also an authorized distributor for Mossy Oak, Browning, Realtree, and Bone Collector graphics and products, as well as a hunting and fishing license agent. Visit online at lightningsign.com or visit the storefront located at 224 7th Street in New Philadelphia.
In the Quaker locker room this week, talking New Philadelphia boys basketball, and happy to be joined by junior forward Michael Carl. Michael, one of the things that we've seen in terms of improvement in your game, and certainly you're having a great year, your free throw shooting is on fire right now. I think when we talk about the last couple of games, the win over Dover, the win over Steubenville, you were something like a gaudy 26 of 28 from the line. I guess, what have you done over a stretch of time dating back to when you were a ninth grader to improve your free throw shooting? Things are looking pretty good right now.
I work every day in the summer and the off season, and especially last year versus Dover, I remember I had a chance to tie the game with a minute left. We were down one or something, and I missed both free throws. So yeah, just focusing on them stuff and just working real hard to make sure I make my free throws.
When we talk about you doing well on the floor in terms of free throw shooting, this team really doing some good things right now. You guys are 5-2, and the only two teams you guys have lost to are pretty good teams in Canton, McKinley, and Zanesville. I guess, what does Coach talk to you about? Hey, Michael, hey, guys, here's some things we're doing pretty well. Here's some things we've got to get better at. I guess let's start with what does he say you're doing well right now?
I think we're playing well as a team, and we're playing hard. That's all that matters, really, as long as if you play hard, and then the smartness will come as the year goes on.
I guess let's flip it to the other side. Maybe when you guys haven't had a good half and you're in here in the locker room, what does Coach say? Hey, guys, we've got to do this and this and this if we want to finish with a win. What are some of the areas you guys are working to improve throughout the season?
Taking care of the ball, definitely. Most of our losses, our 2 losses have came from turnovers and just not getting the right shots and where we want to shoot the ball from.
New Philadelphia junior Michael Carl, our guest on TV2 Sports Talk on DMG Channel 2 from Time Warner Cable. Michael, I've known you probably since you were about 9 years old. When you were younger, you were a very good athlete in multiple sports, a good basketball player, a good baseball player, a good football player. What made you decide to sort of focus on basketball, which is what you do now, as opposed to the other sports, which you were pretty good at as well?
I knew my goal was to play college sport in one of the sports, and I started basketball a lot, and I knew in order to be the best basketball player I wanted to be, I would have to play AAU basketball, and that takes place in the spring and the summer, and in order to compete in AAU basketball and just the traveling and the time and stuff, I knew I was going to have to get really good, and it really took away from the playing baseball. It was really hard to play both, just the traveling and everything, and from there I just went and just kind of just forgot about baseball, and I just played basketball for AAU for 1 year, and I just really liked it, so I just stuck with it.
Now, like I said, I've known this guy for a long time. I know one of his best friends for a long time, basketball teammate and Quaker quarterback Logan Biddekoffer. Has there any been recruiting, Logan saying, Michael, if you could just line up on the sideline, run down, and I'm throwing you fades to a 6'5" guy, does Biddy ever try to recruit you to come out there and get a football helmet on?
Yeah, I think he does a little bit. I like football. I like playing with him. I like playing with everyone, and it's a lot of fun. But right now, I just focus on basketball and just getting better at my free throws and everything.
Sort of sounds like Biddy needs to step up the recruiting pitch. I guess when we talk about you off the floor, Michael, you mentioned the incredible amount of time you devote to basketball, as do a lot of the guys on the team. When you're not playing basketball, what do you do in terms of something I'm not talking about studying. I'm sure he loves to study. But when you have free time, what do you do away from the game?
I like to be with my friends. It's a lot of fun to be with your teammates on and off the floor. Just in the summer, swim together, just go on trips together. It's really fun to spend time with each other.
New Philadelphia junior forward Michael Carl on TV2 Sports Talk coming up as this week's show continues. We'll visit again with New Philadelphia head coach Chad Spurgeon. Our focus on Quaker boys basketball this week on TV2 from Time Warner Cable.
Just wanting to be a police officer, I knew this was a great start, and it turned out to be a fantastic one.
Just be able to actually see what you're doing, what you're working on, and understand how you can take one thing and turn it into something else.
project. We got to creatively use skills and academics and see how we can place them into our fields.
It was pretty much I had the key to open the door, and that was from Buckeye.
WJER and TV2 would like to introduce you to a new website, WJERTV2.com, where you can watch exciting high school football, soccer, and volleyball replays from TV2 Sports on your home computer, smartphone, or tablet. Also watch the latest episodes of TV2's original programming, Sports Talk, The Garden Girl, The Not So Shy Chef, Off the Record, and Medical Minutes, as well as catch up on local community news and search for local businesses. So make sure to check out the new WJERTV2.com community website where everything's local.
TV2 is your home for high school sports play-by-play coverage and TV2 Sports Talk this week on Sports Talk, talking New Philadelphia basketball with head coach Chad Spurgeon. Coach, in the first part of our conversation, we said, hey, what's your team doing well? As you guys push toward the core of the ECOL schedule after the first of the year, what do you guys got to do better?
Well, we've got to finish developing our schemes. You know, we've had a nice Christmas break where we've gotten a lot of our X's and O's in, and, you know, we have a stretch coming up where we'll play 6 games in 11 days, and, you know, we're not going to have as much practice time. So we have to not only get our schemes, but we have to master the nuances. You know, we have to deceive within our set plays. We have to defensively, if we're trying to camouflage things, we have to understand what we're trying to camouflage and how to do that. Really, it's going to come down to a little more X's and O's and execution of those as far as how we're going to go about attacking teams. I think we can show multiple looks to different teams with, you know, different lineups because we're relatively deep, and also different schematics because the kids are relatively bright and they understand they can handle a little more than one thing.
Coach, the hardcore basketball fans are probably well aware of this, but certainly when the tournament gets here, and that seems like it's a long way away, but really it'll fly by quickly. You guys are back into Division II from Division I. I guess as you look down the tournament trail, who are the strengths in the district in Division II? Any particular teams, or is it too early to tell, hey, we're going to try and stay away from here, go on the opposite side of the bracket? How does all of that break down at the midway point of the season?
Well, I think at the midway point, you'd have to take a look at John Glenn. Their scores have been immense. They've dropped 100 probably in half their games, and they do have very skilled guards, I know. I think that's a team that you're going to have to mention first. You know, after that, I think there's a bunch of us that get thrown into the conversation. We're one of them. I think Steubenville, Meadowbrook, and, you know, the other ECOL teams are certainly going to be tough outs in the tournament. So it should be a very fun tournament this year.
Coach, when it comes to tournament time, tell folks a little bit about how all that breaks down. I think sometimes they randomly think you guys just end up in one bracket or the other. Really, there's certainly a little bit of a science to it in terms of where you go and which line you choose to be on.
Well, certainly. We're in really what would be thought of as a super district. We have an ability to go to 2 different districts this year. So there'll be a total of 25 slots. We'll be, I would imagine, seated in the top half, but as you're seated, you know, the number 1 seed can put themselves on the line first, and then 2, and then 3, and so on and so forth. We'll be in the top half, so we'll have choices probably between multiple districts. I'm guessing that John Glenn's going to go to the Zanesville district, and then you might see the next 5 or 6 teams literally go to OU Eastern at Belmont, just to stay away. It's going to be kind of an interesting thing where I'm not sure. It's hard to predict what teams are going to do, and, you know, who feels good about their chances, who would like to maybe schedule a win or 2 and then, you know, face a John Glenn or something like that. So it'll be very interesting. But we'll have a lot of choices as far as we can go into essentially 2 districts, whatever suits us the best, and then those 2 districts will play at the regional semi level.
Quaker head coach Chad Spurgeon talking New Philadelphia basketball, our focus this week on TV2 Sports Talk. Coach, in the first part of our conversation, you mentioned freshman that's playing for you in Nate Voll. Whether it's Nate or any other 9th grader, and certainly you've had 9th graders that have played for you since you've been here as the varsity head coach, What are the biggest transition points for those guys from playing as an 8th grader in middle school basketball to playing against men like Charles Reeves from Steubenville, or some of those guys you've seen from Canton McKinley, or the Underwood kid from Zanesville? The list goes on and on.
I think the speed of the game. You know, I can remember 2 years ago, Michael started as a freshman at McKinley. And that was a McKinley team that went to the Elite Eight, and that was a very nice team. And it's startling how much faster the game goes in varsity basketball versus junior high basketball, which is the last level they played. The same thing happens to kids when they go on to college. There's no way to prepare them for it really. Now, Nate started playing with us some this summer, and we had a couple injuries here and there, and we kind of inserted him in there, and he certainly held his own. Physically, Nate's a pretty developed kid. He's pretty well built, pretty quick-minded also, which he's able to handle that, and it's startling. The speed of the game is the big thing, though, I think.
Coach, recently some changes in the starting lineup, probably started after the loss in Zanesville. John Marshall and Logan Bittercoffer coming off the bench, Nate Bball among those, along with Micah Carruthers now starting. What do inserting those guys in the lineup give you? What does bringing John and Logan off the bench provide for you guys?
Well, it's one of those things where we can get better as we sub, to be honest. I don't think that I start my best 5 players. I think I start my most consistent 5. It allows us to start games comfortably. And then I really do think that it's a situation where we get a little better. We sub in, depending schematically what's happening in the game. John comes in 3 minutes into the game, and boy, he has an immediate impact where we can change gears. We can do a lot of different things. It allows us to have a diversity in the way we play. That's seemed to do a little better. Now, we face teams with big guys. John's going to have to start, because we're going to have to immediately start that. But if the team has, a big shooter that John may not close out on, or be comfortable going outside as much, it allows us to contain that off the get-go and make sure that nobody can come out and, ambush us with a couple sets designed to take advantage of that. But it's one of those situations where we get a lift. We start the game a little better, but then we get a significant lift offensively coming in when 2 or 3 of those guys come in. The other team gets a little tired and subs, and all of a sudden we might actually get stronger in the substitution, and it's in a way for us to try to separate the end of the first quarter or the second quarter.
Coach, in the brief amount of time, about 30 seconds or so as we wrap up our conversation, one of the other unique things about your program, we talked about the couch factor a little bit earlier on. At halftime of your games, you, as the head coach, are not immediately in the locker room. You're out with the young dribblers. What's the thought process behind that? How did you come up with that?
I stole that from Randy Montgomery. Not going to lie. I don't consider myself to be any sort of coaching genius. I think of myself as a pretty good thief, and I've been lucky to steal from good coaches. I'd have to give him credit. I talked to him this afternoon. They're heading to play Steubenville, actually, and we were talking about that. Randy's about as good at developing a program as you can be, and you have to be involved with your youth. If you're not, nature abhors a vacuum, and if you don't do it, somebody's going to do it. And if they don't do what you want, you don't have the right to complain. You have to take control of that, and you have to teach kids. We strive for success. We strive for excellence a lot more than we do success. At a young age, with all the travel sports and the trophy cultures that we've created, if you don't get involved and change that, then you're culpable as a coach, as a varsity coach. I have to shape the ethos and the culture of the program starting at a young age, because once that gets started, you can't get it out. The cultures that can happen in youth sports at times can be accidentally perverse, committed by very good people. They just don't know any better. And it's one of those situations where we take pride in getting involved and teaching the kids the right way. And, they need to learn to lose just as much as learning to win. And they just, that's a big part of it. It's an important thing we can teach kids. And if I weren't doing that, it would be a poor job on my part.
Coach, as always, thanks for your time. Best of luck all year long.
Thank you, Bill Morgan.
It is New Philadelphia head coach Chad Spurgeon as our focus this week at Quaker basketball on your home for the of television high school sports in the Valley, TV2. Here we go. All right.